Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. Today we're really strapping on those detective hats, and we're diving deep into Palantir Technologies.
Yeah, they're certainly making some waves.
They really are, but the question is, are they a hidden gem or just like a cleverly disguised trap?
That's the big question, isn't it? Palantir specializes in this analytical software, really data crunching on just a massive scale. And they have two main platforms, Foundry, which caters to commercial clients.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's this Gotham platform, which that one's, kind of shrouded in secrecy and serves those government agencies.
Right, so they're helping organizations kind of unearth those insights from their data.
Exactly.
Whether it's, a business trying to really streamline that supply chain or, well, who knows what's happening with Gotham. But that's what makes it interesting, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Their financials seem strong on the surface, but there are these little whispers of potential trouble.
Right. GuruFocus gives them a pretty solid 8 out of 10 when it comes to financial strength. And they've got a pretty healthy cash-to-debt ratio, which means they're not, swimming in debt.
Right.
And they also have a strong equity-to-asset ratio, which basically means they've got a really good, solid foundation.
Okay. And didn't they pass their financial stress test with flying colors?
Yeah.
That Altman Z-score, is that a good indicator of a company's health?
It is a high Altman Z-score like Palantir has. Usually means that they're pretty far from bankruptcy.
Okay.
But there's a catch. GuruFocus also flagged 6 medium warning signs. And our sources don't actually tell us what those are, which makes it kind of mysterious.
A little intrigue. Okay, so warning signs when you're talking about financial analysis, what could that be about? Are we talking like hitting the panic button here?
Not necessarily. It could be any number of things.
Sure.
Maybe there are some concerns about their profitability in the long term, or maybe they're just too reliant on a few big clients.
Right.
We'd have to kind of dig a little deeper to really, see what we can find.
It's like we're piecing together a puzzle, isn't it? We've got these strong financials on one side, but then these mysterious warning signs on the other.
Right.
What's the next clue in this financial mystery?
Well, let's take a look at their growth story.
Okay.
And it is a pretty impressive one over the past 3 years. Their revenue has grown by 13.4%.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. But then you look at their earnings per share, excluding some of those one-time items, and that number jumps to 46.6%.
Whoa, that's huge.
Yeah.
Especially for a tech company. Investors love to see that kind of growth, right?
They do. And, their free cash flow growth is even more impressive. It's a whopping 40.8%.
Wow.
Which shows that they're generating a lot of cash, which they can then reinvest back into the business or eventually, return to those shareholders.
Okay, so we've got a company here with seemingly solid financials and a growth trajectory that seems like it's headed straight for the moon.
Yeah.
Sounds like a dream investment. But as we've kind of learned so far, there's always a but with these things, isn't there?
There is, and this is a big one, their valuation. Palantir is trading at some astronomical levels. We're talking a PE ratio of 533.47.
Okay.
A PS ratio of 89.01, and a PB ratio of 46.07.
Okay.
To put it simply, the market is putting a huge price tag on Palantir.
I'm really struggling to wrap my head around those numbers. A PE ratio of 533, that means that for every dollar of Palantir's earnings, investors are paying $533. That seems optimistic, to say the least.
It does raise some red flags. GuruFocus's GF value calculation, which, that attempts to estimate the stock's intrinsic value.
Right.
That puts it at $19.13.
Okay.
And you compare that to Palantir's current trading price, which is somewhere around $101.36, and you have a massive gap.
So is the market just getting totally carried away with all the hype, or does Palantir have some secret sauce that justifies this premium valuation?
Yeah, that's what we got to figure out, what's driving this disconnect.
It's a real head-scratcher.
It is. There's a puzzle here, and we need to find those missing pieces. Welcome back to our deep dive. We've really laid out this financial foundation and spotted some discrepancies that are really intriguing, but now we need to kind of understand, what Palantir actually does.
Yeah, what is their secret sauce, and is it worth the price tag that the market seems to be putting on it?
Well, at their core, Palantir builds software platforms that really help organizations make sense of massive amounts of data.
Okay.
So, they operate in this world of big data analytics, which is becoming more and more crucial in, our data-driven world.
Okay, so that sounds incredibly complex.
Yeah.
Can you break it down for us a little bit? What do these platforms actually do?
So imagine you're a company with information just scattered across different departments, different systems, different formats, and Palantir steps in to integrate all of that data, clean it up,
Okay.
And then uses powerful algorithms to really uncover those hidden patterns and insights.
So they're like digital detectives in a way.
Exactly.
Sifting through all the clues to solve these complex problems.
Yeah, and their platforms are designed to be incredibly versatile. They can be adapted to a wide range of industries and uses.
So we know they have these two primary platforms, Foundry and Gotham. Can you tell us a little bit more about how they differ?
Absolutely. Foundry is kind of their flagship platform, and it's geared towards commercial clients. So think industries like healthcare, finance, energy manufacturing, any sector that's dealing with mountains of data and really complex challenges.
Right.
Foundry helps them to really streamline those processes, improve efficiency, manage risk, and even gain a competitive edge.
So Foundry is all about helping businesses unlock the power of their data to make better decisions.
That's right.
What about Gotham? That one always seems like it's shrouded in mystery.
Yeah, Gotham is specifically designed for government agencies, particularly those in defense intelligence and law enforcement.
Yeah.
And it helps them analyze, intelligence data, track threats, conduct investigations, and really make critical decisions in those high-stakes situations.
Given Palantir's reputation for being so secretive, I can only imagine what kinds of data Gotham is analyzing.
Yeah.
And the implications of those analyses. I mean, it feels like we almost need security clearances just to talk about it.
It does spark the imagination, doesn't it?
It does.
But the lack of transparency, surrounding Gotham's applications raises some really important questions about the ethical considerations.
Right.
And, the potential misuse of such powerful technology.
Yeah, that's a crucial point. I think we can't just ignore the potential downsides just because the technology is super impressive.
Right.
So Palantir is kind of playing in this big data analytics space, but they're not the only ones, right? Who are some of their main competitors?
Well, they face competition from both, those established tech giants and those agile startups. Companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, they all offer their own cloud-based data analytics solutions.
Sure.
And then you have all these smaller firms that are focusing on specific industries or specific types of analysis.
Gotcha.
It's a pretty crowded field.
So what makes Palantir stand out in that crowd? What's their unique selling proposition? Why would a client choose them over these giants?
Well, their differentiation lies in a few key areas.
Okay.
First, their platforms are known for their ability to handle extremely complex and unstructured data, and they excel at integrating information from all sorts of sources and kind of creating this unified view, which is essential for organizations with those sprawling data ecosystems.
So they're not just crunching numbers, they're weaving together a coherent story from all these scattered pieces of information.
Exactly. And another differentiator is Palantir's focus on building bespoke solutions that are tailored to each client's specific needs. So they don't just offer a one-size-fits-all product.
Right.
They work really closely with customers to develop customized applications that deliver tangible results.
Yeah. And that personalized approach makes a lot of sense, especially when you're dealing with sensitive data and really complex challenges. I mean, it's not something you can just kind of plug in and play, is it?
It's not. And finally, Palantir has built a very strong reputation for expertise in, sensitive and mission-critical applications, especially in the government sector.
Right.
Their experience handling classified data and understanding the unique needs of defense and intelligence agencies gives them a really significant advantage.
So it seems like while they face some tough competition on the commercial side, their government business seems to be a real stronghold for them.
It does.
But as you mentioned earlier, this reliance on government contracts, that could also be a risk.
It could. Changes in, government policies, budget cuts, shifts in priorities could impact their revenue.
Right.
It's always wise to diversify, even if you're dominant in one market.
Right, for sure. Okay, so we've got a much better understanding now of what Palantir does, who they compete with. But now I'm thinking back to those warning signs that we talked about from GuruFocus.
Yeah.
What other potential risks should investors really be aware of?
Well, one concern is their dependence on a small number of large clients.
Okay.
Landing, major government agencies and Fortune 500 companies is impressive.
Yeah.
But losing even a few of those key accounts could really have a major impact on their bottom line.
It's like putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Which can be risky if one of those baskets happens to tip over.
Exactly. Another risk is just the constantly evolving tech landscape.
Right.
Palantir has to constantly innovate to stay ahead of the curve. If they fall behind, those platforms could become obsolete and their growth could stall.
Yeah, it's a constant race in the tech world. You snooze, you lose, right?
Very true. And then there's always the, ever-present risk of cybersecurity threats.
Of course.
Palantir deals with highly sensitive data, which makes them a prime target for hackers. Any breach could have really severe consequences, both for the company and their clients.
It's a constant battle to stay one step ahead in cyberspace.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about the risks.
Yeah.
What about the rewards? I mean, what makes Palantir such a compelling investment, despite all of these concerns?
Well, despite the risks, they do have a lot working in their favor.
Okay.
They operate in a high-growth market with massive potential. The demand for big data analytics is only going to increase as organizations across all those different sectors, recognize the value of extracting insights from their data.
So they're riding a wave of digital transformation that's not going away anytime soon.
Exactly. And second, they have a proven track record of innovation.
Okay.
And a strong team of engineers and data scientists.
Right.
They're not just following trends, they're shaping the future of the industry.
They've got the talent and the vision to keep pushing those boundaries of what's possible with data analytics.
Precisely. And third, they've really established themselves as a trusted partner to some of the most powerful organizations in the world.
Okay.
Their relationships with government agencies and those Fortune 500 companies provide a solid foundation for future growth.
Yeah, and those deep connections and long-term contracts can provide a level of stability that's rare in the tech world.
Yeah.
It seems like Palantir really has a lot going for it, but there's still that question mark hanging over their valuation.
You're right. We still have to figure out if their future potential justifies the premium price tag that the market is putting on them.
That's the puzzle that we need to solve. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So we've, explored Palantir's financials, their business model, the competitive landscape, and the potential risks and rewards for investors.
We've uncovered a pretty fascinating mix of strengths and weaknesses, a company with incredible potential, but also some pretty significant question marks.
And now it's time to kind of delve into a more nuanced and maybe even a little controversial aspect of Palantir.
Yeah.
Their corporate culture and their impact on society. This is where things get really interesting.
Palantir has cultivated a reputation that's about as intriguing as it is polarizing. They've been called secretive intense, even a bit cultish.
Yeah, I've heard those stories about their, intense work ethic and their just unwavering belief in the power of data. It's almost like they're on a mission to change the world.
I think that's a pretty accurate assessment. Palantir attracts a certain type of personality. Those who are drawn to complex challenges and driven by a sense of purpose.
Right.
They're not just building software, they're building a company with a distinct ideology.
But this intense focus and secrecy, that's drawn some criticism, hasn't it?
It has.
People have raised concerns about transparency and the potential for their technology to be misused.
Absolutely. When you're dealing with data as powerful as Palantir's, there's always that risk that it could be used for less than noble purposes.
Right.
And the lack of transparency around their operations makes it really difficult to assess how those risks are being managed.
Yeah. It's a tough balance, isn't it? On the one hand, you need a certain level of secrecy to protect that sensitive information and maintain that competitive edge.
Right.
But on the other hand, you need transparency and accountability to make sure that the technology is being used ethically and responsibly.
Exactly. It's a conversation that needs to be had, especially as Palantir's technology becomes more pervasive in both the government and the commercial sectors.
Let's talk about that impact on society for a second. I mean, Palantir's platforms have the potential to revolutionize how we solve problems, how we make decisions, and even how we govern ourselves. But what are some of those potential downsides?
Well, their work with government agencies, for example, raises important questions about the balance between national security and individual privacy. How do we ensure that the data collected and analyzed by these platforms is being used appropriately and not infringing on our civil liberties?
It's a slippery slope. We need to be really mindful of the potential for surveillance and the erosion of privacy, all in the name of security.
And as Palantir's technology expands into the commercial world, we need to consider the potential impact on employment.
Right.
Could these platforms automate jobs and displace workers?
Sure.
How do we prepare for a future where algorithms are increasingly making decisions that were once made by humans?
It's both exciting and a little bit terrifying to think about all the possibilities.
Yeah.
We're really on the cusp of a data-driven revolution, and companies like Palantir are at the forefront.
It's a time of both great opportunity and great uncertainty, and I think it's more important than ever to have those open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of these technologies.
Yeah, we need to ensure that these tools are being used to benefit society as a whole, not just to, increase profits or consolidate power.
Exactly. We need to be thoughtful and deliberate about how we integrate these technologies into our lives and into our institutions.
So where do we go from here? We've uncovered a lot of information about Palantir, but it still feels like we've only scratched the surface.
Well, that's the nature of a deep dive, isn't it? It's about exploring all the complexities and the contradictions, not necessarily arriving at definitive answers.
And it's about empowering you, the listener, to continue that exploration on your own.
Exactly.
We've provided you with the tools and the insights to form your own opinions about Palantir and their role in shaping the future.
We encourage you to dig deeper, to read more, to challenge those assumptions, and to engage in, thoughtful conversations about the implications of these data-driven technologies.
This deep dive wouldn't be possible without the incredible reporting and analysis from various news outlets and financial resources. So a big shout out to them for bringing us this information.
Absolutely. And to stay up to date on the latest breaking news and financial insights, be sure to like and subscribe to The Deep Dive.
Yes.
We're constantly exploring new topics and uncovering those hidden gems of knowledge.
Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey into the world of Palantir Technologies. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those questions coming.